All right, guys, for everybody who is jumping on right now, give us a couple minutes here. We're going to let everybody slowly make their way into the webinar, and we'll get things rocking here in just a minute. But if you're jumping in right now, go ahead and throw a hello in the chat here. Let me make sure we got the chat working. Let's see. This is to everyone. Let's see here. Let us know where you're coming from. Let us know what brand you're working with. Just say hi. Eric Christensen, how's the weather down in
Well,
you're
we're
Marin,
not getting hit
right?
by that atmospheric river. Is that hitting you guys or further north?
We're not getting hit by it right now. We're pretty dry up here right now.
Yeah. Well, Seattle's getting hammered, I hear.
Yeah, we're having a rough start to the year up here. We've got no snow so far.
Yeah, it's quite. I brought a
All
guest
right.
with me today. Pippa's joining us.
Nice.
What's up, Pippa?
You help with the teardowns.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna let everybody sort of jump in here as we get set up. Kenzie saying hi, Monica saying hi. Kenzie, Monica, where you guys from? You don't have to tell us.
I think Kenzie's from Hawaii.
There we go, Los Angeles. Awesome. All right, we got some West Coasters here.
Minnesota.
Minnesota. Okay, cool. Also, guys, as we are getting started here and letting people jump in and start to join, we are, for anybody who wants to do a live teardown, there's Elaine from Atlanta. Hey, Elaine. If anybody wants us to do a live teardown of their brand site, go ahead and start throwing those into the chat just so we've got them ready to go. The plan for today is we're going to do about 30 minutes or so here of just sort of focusing on strategy and tactics, for optimizing for Q1 and for 2026. And then what we'll do here at the tail end, like we always do, is we will take some time and do a teardown of any brands that are want to sacrifice themselves as tribute. So awesome. It sounds like Elaine's ready to go. So we
Oh
will
boy.
definitely take a look at that for you, Elaine.
I'm a chocoholic.
Very cool. All right, so we'll put that one first on the list for today. All right, guys. So I think we'll go ahead and just get rolling here and let people start to kind of wade in here as they can today. But I want to make sure we have plenty of time here to get through content as well as to do some live teardowns. So I'm gonna go and jump in here and we'll get the show rocking here today. So first off, I want to introduce everybody who is on the webinar today. So Alan Burt, myself, founder and CEO at Blue Stout, also run the Commerce Lab newsletter. Joined today by Eric Myers, who is our head of optimization here at Blue Stout, and also Eric Christensen, who is the CEO and founder of Just Uno. Awesome. So, what are we going to be doing today? What are we going to be talking about today? So, right before we get into the actual topic and the agenda, for everybody who is attending or for anybody who has signed up, so if you're actually listening to this recording after the fact, we are running right now a special offer. We do this for all of our webinars for people who show up to the webinars and to sign up for our webinars. We're offering 50% off our full store analytics and site audits. So what we do is we actually get under the hood, understand exactly what is working and not working on your site by looking at how your customers are working their way through the storefront. And then we make very specific data-driven recommendations on what you should be improving and changing to actually drive higher conversions, higher AOV, higher lifetime value, and ultimately more revenue and profit. So if you have any interest in having us take a look under the hood at your storefront, just go to bluestout.com/strategy and book a call. We can talk through what's required, or you can just shoot us an email. You can shoot me an email personally. It's just Allen, ALLEN, at bluestout.com, and we'll throw all this info up here at the end of the webinar as well. All right, what are we talking about today? So obviously it's December. Everybody's burned out. It's been a crazy Q4. But at the end of the day, we still have to start preparing for Q1 and primarily January. Now, most brands typically see a dip, coming out of the holidays for very obvious reasons. Most of your customers have spent a significant amount of money. They've made a bunch of purchases and everybody's kind of taking a pause. And so the typical cycles, we typically see a decrease amongst all of our brands in January, maybe except for brands that are very health focused, because January is a very health focused sort of new year, new you type mentality. But for everybody else, everybody typically sees a little bit of a dip. So what we want to be talking about today is what can you be doing today? And we're going to give you very specific optimizations that you can be making to your storefront today that will help mitigate some of that dip that you are likely to see in the first half of the first quarter in 2026. So that's what we're going to be talking about here first. And then what we also want to be doing, because if you're here, let's not just talk about Q1, let's also talk about what you can be doing to better set up your store for success in 2026. So what are some more foundational optimizations, foundational functionalities, foundational changes that you can make to the site? They're going to set you up for a better baseline as you move into 2026 to basically squeeze more revenue out of the traffic that you are bringing to the site right now. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. If you have questions as we are going through the content, feel free just to throw it directly into the chat. We'll try to field these as we go. We'd love to make this more conversational versus us just sort of talking to you. And then for anybody who is also joining us right now or joining us as we go, we're going to be doing some live teardowns or offering live teardowns for anybody who wants one today. So if you have your site or your brand and you'd like us to take a look at it and look at it primarily through the lens of what you should be doing to optimize for Q1 and optimize for 2026, throw it in the chat. We'll be taking a look at. We've already got Elaine who's through her URL in, so she'll be going first, and then we'll take anybody else who wants us to do a teardown. So I think let's go ahead and jump straight into the content. Eric Myers, if you want to run from here and kind of help set the stage a bit.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Alan, and thanks everyone for joining. I know it's a busy time of year, being really in the tail end of our holiday selling season. So I first wanted to take a look at kind of how things went for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Across Shopify, merchants set a new record with 14.6 billion in sales for that period of Black Friday through Cyber Monday. That represents a 27% increase year over year. So consumers are really still out there spending in force. So today we'll focus a lot of our conversation around how to make the most of the new customers that everyone acquired over the Q4 period so far in order to set ourselves up with a strong foundation in Q1 as we head into 2026. We have a few tailwinds taking us through the rest of the year and into the start of the new year as sentiment across consumers has been beginning to creep up. Rates are at their lowest point in 3 years, so we're expecting to see those tailwinds create some growth for us in Q1 and really beyond into the rest of 2026.
All right. All right. You want to dive into some of those actual optimizations that we want to be taking a look at for January?
Yeah, let's do it. I think Eric's actually going to kick us off with one first.
All right, Eric, what's your first optimization as we head into January?
All right. Hello, everyone. Former retailer myself, you'd walk in the warehouse, be like, what do we have? A lot of onesie twosies, etc. We want to run banners on the top of your site, driving your visitors to those categories or to your deal section. That's the easiest win we can do right now. Everyone's business, you know your business better than anyone. You're analyzing your inventory. You can update this routinely, but drive the visitors to where you want them to be to buy. And then the second is end of year promotion. We have an example here from this is one of the tea companies. I forget what it is. I actually sips a tea. Yeah, no, theteasmith.com. I'll drop their link in here. They currently have a similar campaign running, but it's for the holidays right now. And we're going to transition them to their end of year promotion, which is this one. Very similar. So right here, the running of didn't get what you want. They're driving people with a discount to the categories that they want to push.
And the idea here, right, is again, like you've got excess inventory, like might as well turn that into, some sort of a promotion, turn that into a strength, right? And use that sort of dip in January as an opportunity to basically sell through excess inventory, right?
Yeah, and inventory is the vein of existence for any retailer. And it's where a lot of retailers actually lose their margin. So it's a two-part thing here is one, understanding your inventory and then matching your website to reflect what you want to sell and push through.
Yep. Love it. All right, cool. All right, Eric, want to jump in here and talk about our optimization number two, something we focus on specifically in January. That's an opportunity.
Yeah. So for January, one thing we want to do is make sure that we're making the most of all these new customers that we've just acquired by thinking about their life cycle. That focus on returning customers was a really prominent trend throughout 2025. We saw a lot of merchants pull back on new customer acquisition as they sought to drive more revenue from returning customers. Some of our merchants even generated as much as 70% of their revenue from returning customers this holiday season. So this segment is becoming really crucial for profitability seeking merchants. So we need to treat them as such. When we have a returning user or purchaser on the website, we have a trove of great data about them that we can use to create a more fluid and seamless product journey to make sure that it's easy for them to find the right product really quickly. The bedrock of that is understanding your product journeys really well and merchandising the site appropriately. So when we can key into that user's past purchase history, then we can be really helpful in using some of the merchandising elements across the website to guide them towards what is most likely that next product that someone is likely to purchase. Now, finding this data used to require like a big headache of a SQL query, but this week, Shopify began rolling out some updates as part of their winter editions release. Sidekick received a huge upgrade. So if you tried using Sidekick in the past for any data analysis and you're like, this just doesn't really work, give it another shot. It's working much better with the latest upgrade that they rolled out. You can provide your context and prompts here to find out what users are most likely to purchase in a transaction after they've purchased your star product. So if someone has purchased product X once and then they come back to the site, we can then do things like pin those items that are most likely to be the second purchase in that product journey, pin those in some of your product recommendations throughout the site, or maybe even add like a popular or just for you type of a badge on product listings and product detail pages.
Yep.
Then on the next page, I have another one specifically for returning users. For returning users, this one may seem a little bit like table stakes, but we find that a lot of times loyalty programs are under-resourced if they do exist at all. So if you have a loyalty program, or better yet, a membership program, let's see a show of hands in the chat. Like you really should. And Q1 is a great time to build one out so that you have a reason to re-engage all of those purchasers from the holiday season with a gift of like some loyalty points on their recent purchase. Even if consumers are becoming more likely to open their wallets based on some of the macroeconomic trends that were identified, the clever ones are still always going to look for the best deal. So giving users the option to redeem points for a discount or for an upgraded service gives them more reason to shop with you over the competition. As an added bonus, when new users in particular see a message like on this product page, for example, it says something like, this product earns 100 points towards your next purchase. They're going to be more likely to become a customer based on the future value that they see in redeeming those points on their next purchase once they join your loyalty program and become a customer.
Yep. And it's one of those things where you start to look at loyalty and membership as well. Yes, this is sort of a tactic for Q1, but the idea is this plays for the entire year, right? And seeing the trends in the need to bring returning customers, returning visitors back to buy, the increased acquisition cost for new buyers, just everybody needs to be doubling down and pulling every lever possible to drive as much revenue from their existing customer base as they can. And loyalty is really, it's a foundational element of that. And it is sort of table stakes, but it's amazing how many folks either don't do it, how many brands are not utilizing it, or they've utilized it and they've set it up, but they've sort of forgotten about it, right? Like it's just there and they haven't fully baked it into the user experience in places that are actually going to engage customers along the way, like on the PDP. So like, Eric, like you're talking about, like displaying how many points, are being made available per purchase, or like showcasing in cart how many points you've owned with this purchase, right? Or if you're coming back to the site, reminding customers how many points they have available to put towards their next purchase, right? There's a lot, those sort of little UX and UI elements are the pieces that I see a lot of brands, even if they have a loyalty program, haven't thought through where they should be prompting their visitors to engage back with that loyalty program in a way that's going to drive purchase.
A lot of times it kind of only lives post-purchase. I think
Yeah.
bringing it pre-purchase is a great way to encourage that first purchase. And it's also a great way to play with your margins a little bit. So like tactically, another thing that you can do here is, let's say, for example, within your most loyalty programs have a bunch of tiers, right? We've seen a lot of clients over the last 6 months or so needing to play with their margins in order to account for increases in cost of goods, whether that's tariffs, input supplies, or whatever else. We've seen a lot of costs rise for merchants. So, in turn, we've seen a lot of them start to raise their free shipping thresholds or remove free shipping altogether. A great way to keep that offer for like a new customer in order to incent them is to communicate that you'll get free shipping when you join our membership program or when you reach a certain level of our tier in our loyalty program. Those are great ways you can use these programs to help recapture a little bit of margin that you may have lost in 2025.
Yep. Love it. All right, cool. Want to move on to the next one?
Let's take a look. Next, I want to shift my focus towards some of those new customers. Now, Q1 is when customer acquisition costs for most industries are the lowest of the year. So while returning customers are a key component of profit growth, it's really important to be filling the top of the funnel with new prospects as well. The first way to do that is test new offers. Q1 is a great time to be testing new offers. We test these year round, but Q1 is the most cost efficient time to do it because CPMs are usually the lowest. Now, whether you have a high volume SKU that you want to try to scale sales of this item or an emerging star in a catalog that's ready to open up a new audience segment, Q1 is a really cost-effective time to test out different offer configurations, specifically with the goal of increasing first order revenue. That way, your LTV can keep up with rising acquisition costs this year. And it's also a way to lower your risk of testing funnels on products that don't usually command a high share of your ad spend. So that could be testing things like, for example, maybe a bundled item instead of just a individual product, or something like a gift with purchase instead of just like an immediate discount. Playing with different offers so that you can capture data during Q1 when it's the cheapest to acquire that data. Then you'll understand, okay, for each one of these offers, what is my conversion rate? What is my average order value? And how does that relate to my customer acquisition costs right now? Then you can model that out for the rest of the year so that you know which one of those offers is going to be the most scalable, and in turn, the one you should be putting the most resources into.
Yep, love it. Absolutely. It's amazing to me how many brands are still sort of running the same sort of discount model, or not looking at other ways that they can be driving up cart values of things like free gifts with purchase. This makes me think of a conversation that Eric, you and I were having with a brand a couple weeks ago around, the fact that one of their top selling products is a really low price product. And the idea that they could literally probably give that product away for free if somebody purchased another high value product that has a better repeat purchase rate on the back end. So it's better unit economics for the other products, and has a higher repeat purchase rate for those products. And just by the idea of just giving their prime product away for free as part of a gift, if you purchase one of these other high value AV products, is a strategy that, sort of looking at the numbers and looking at the margins that way, I think is a strategy that most brands haven't thought about or just aren't thinking about. We don't hear many people talking about that.
Yeah.
We venture to say that the bundle is the number one way to increase AOV.
Yeah.
We find that as well.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then to tie those two concepts together, getting that first order AOV higher is the most impactful way to affect those long-term lifetime values, right? Giving yourself a higher baseline for a cohort's LTV is going to have a significant effect on, when you look at the 6-month LTV or 12-month LTV of that data, of that cohort. So long as you can increase that baseline, you're set yourself up well to outpace the other ones. So understanding which of these offers creates the higher AOV is the first part of it. And then the second part is really, if you already know which carts that generate the higher LTVs, right? Whether it's maybe like a small priced item, maybe has a higher growth rate, or a higher priced item gives you that better baseline. Understanding those data points helps you test out right now to see, for example, like if I know I have like this low priced item, what if I tested bundling that with like, call that like your impulse buy, and then we bundled it with something with a high level of utility to increase that first average order value? That really might affect the way that you're able to free up more budget to spend in scaling more acquisition during the rest of the year because you've gathered those data points. Then like, okay, cool, I can acquire at this conversion rate at this average order value. That might even be lower or higher than the baseline right now. But if you also understand those lifetime values on a product basis, then that's a great way to understand and model out, okay, here's an offer that might look like it's not performing really well right out of the gates, but I know that when someone purchases this low cost item in their first order, the LTV grows faster.
Yep. Yep. 100%. You got to look at the data. And again, I think that's a skill set. I would just say skill set. I think it's a skill set that I think a lot of brands don't quite know how to do, but also it's just because lack of time, right? And so the ability to actually run those numbers, it becomes very challenging, for a lot of merchants. But it's absolutely worth it because if you spend the time figuring out what are those dominoes that drive the higher LTVs, that should totally change the way you think about merchandising on the site, which right now what we find most brands do merchandising really almost based upon like gut feel versus really focusing on what drives first purchase decisions, what should we be moving new visitors, new customers into to drive a first purchase that is ultimately going to result in the highest LTV down the pipe. All right, cool. Let's talk about here your last one here for January and Q1 here, Eric.
Yeah, so last and probably my favorite here is custom landing pages. So our optimization practice is really focused on creating durable growth. There's a lot of things you can do across your website that are tactics that create like this novelty effect, right? Of like, okay, here's something that, like we changed the color of these prices or we added this banner and we see a short-term lift in conversion rate as a result of it. But these custom landing pages are one of the most durable ways to grow customer acquisition because they tend to be really effective for cold traffic or new users. Getting consumers excited about you and your product by telling your story in a unique way, rather than landing on a typical product detail page that looks like every other product detail page across the entire internet. This is a great way to tell an in-depth story. Maybe that's through like an advertorial style or other like narrative-based page structures can be a great way to build on a story arc that you've started in maybe whether it's paid media or whatever media you're using for traffic acquisition. And it creates a really engaging experience for this type of customer than those standard product detail pages would. It gives you the opportunity to do a few things all at once, introduce your brand and what you do, promote some of those products that you know are your best sellers specifically for new users, or the ones that generate that highest lifetime value when purchased in a early transaction across that customer lifetime value. And it also allows you to just build out a lot of content sections too, right? So those content sections are also incredibly helpful in creating context for a lot of your non-human traffic, right? Imagine an advertorial that is like we saw like a chocolate brand here, right? The best 3 chocolates to gift my boss this holiday season, right? A landing page drafted like that, right? Advertorial style. It starts with some context that frames the product as here's a solution to some queries that someone might be putting in. Maybe it's search, maybe it's LLM, but it's a great way to create that context that then some of those human and not non-human sessions on your website can start to pick up on. And it makes it really easy for that user to purchase, right? Because you're using some content to prime their purchase of the product while also adding additional context. Custom landing pages, I'm a big fan of these because you can also usually spin these up pretty quickly by taking
Mhm.
existing elements of your website and then creating custom landing pages that are specific to a certain traffic source and the way that you're speaking to that audience.
Yep. And I think this, especially as everybody has seen ads costs and become more competitive, increase and converting first acquisition profitably or first customer profitably off of paid acquisitions become just harder and harder and harder. The more specific you can align those advertorial and those landing pages to the actual ads themselves, the better they're going to perform. And I think that's again, an opportunity that we don't see a lot of brands doubling down on is really focusing on how do we make a really high impact for that very specific segment we are targeting in the ad on their very first interaction with the site, which would be that landing page that's very uniquely speaking to them and the context and the job they're here to do versus just throwing them onto a product page or a collections page. Not to say that those pages shouldn't be the first thing you optimize, collections and product pages first, but landing pages should be a huge opportunity for most of you going into 2026.
And I think I think about them as like your product detail page is like the lowest common denominator. Like you'll always
Yeah.
have that, right? But you don't have to speak to all of your customer segments the same way, right? Imagine a physical retail store. They're bound to like, okay, here's our brand and here's what it looks like and here's how we talk about it in the store. But you can create all these different touch points that are specific to the various needs of different users coming to your website by creating multiple custom landing pages.
Exactly. All right. So that was awesome. Anybody, if you have questions on anything we're going through, feel free to drop it into the chat. We can sort of field things as they pop up. Also, we'll transition here and let's talk a little bit about some foundational elements that you should be setting up on your site to maximize revenue from your existing traffic. And we're going to hand this over to Eric Christensen to walk through his recommendations here in just a second. But just before that, just to remind everybody, if you are here and you would like us to take a look at your site today, here in, let's say, probably 10 minutes or so, we'll probably do some live teardowns. So throw your URL of your brand or the site you would like us to tear down just into the chat. If you want to, again, we'll be as nice as possible. We'll be kind. But we'll do some live teardowns, and I think everybody will get some really interesting feedback. One that you can take to your brand to apply to it now, but also you'll learn from other people who are throwing their URLs in the chat and what we give as feedback on them as well. So, all right, Eric, I'm going to hand this over to you. If you'd like to
Terrific.
start talking through, do you want to give any sort of, do you want to jump straight into your slides here? Or do you want to give any sort of intro here as to what you're going to be going over?
We can jump to the next slide and give an intro
Sure.
while we do it. Elaine, by the way, I already kind of did a teardown of Exo Colati and I'll actually transition into probably some input which will relate to what I'm talking about here. It was a perfect kind of review. Okay, so what are we going to talk about? What I'm going to share is, look, we can't do everything. But just so you know, through our lens and perspective, there's some foundational goals that we want every brand to be deploying and looking at and working towards, with the end goal to achieve a 30% lift in sales. Uh, you hear a lot about percentages and growth. In my 20 years in retail and SaaS, I spent the last year distilling down what are the basics that brands can do today with present day technology and should be doing and built a playbook. So what are the three goals I want you focusing on and achieving? It's 20% email capture from your daily traffic. And we're going to do that through pop-ups and anonymous visitor identification. The second is we want to 5x the amount of cart abandonment emails you're sending. Why cart abandonment emails? Because Klaviyo themselves have reported on it throughout the years that the cart abandonment email flow is the number one revenue generator. So let's start at the top and improve that number. And then that's offsite. On-site, where we want to focus, is the number one revenue bucket, which is cart abandonment. It's right now the industry is at an average of 70.25%. It's gone up the last 10 years. We've done a worse job. We haven't improved this number. And we can do this by engaging visitors that are exiting your site, both with items in their cart and without. And we have examples of what you can do with discount or non-discount. Um, Next slide, please.
Of
So
course.
how do we do this? Anyone using Klaviyo, you're very familiar with their email flows and how it's all about visitor segmentation. You're sending personalized messages. You have to look at your website in the same way. So there's three foundational flows every website should have. It's a capture flow. This is where we're collecting email and phone numbers. You have an identity flow, which is anonymous visitor identification. Third is going to be a convert flow. This is where we're engaging and targeting abandoning visitors on site at the point of abandonment. The first two flows, that's where we're going to get our 20% email capture and be able to increase our cart abandonment flows. And the third convert flow is where we're going to reduce your cart abandonment by 10%. So what does that look like? I'll just show you two quick examples of today's best practices. So how does this relate to end of year? If you're running pop-ups right now, as we'll take a look at Exo Colati, what can we do to improve them? Right now, we have our capture flow. This is where we're engaging visitors on your site whose emails we do not have. We're going to do full screen. Yes, full screen. This is the most effective. Why? Because pop-ups have become so common practice. There's an immediate aversion to close, and just as what Eric's saying with landing pages, what we do with landing pages is we strip out navigation, we strip out everything so we can focus the user into what we want, and that's what we're achieving with the full screen. We can also add in example here, like shopper preferences. So we can collect some zero-party data so we can then send better targeted welcome series emails, which is the number two revenue generator for email marketing. What we're doing here is we're tying in the on-site experience with email marketing to highly effective marketing tools. Second example here is our convert flow. This is our abandoning visitor. This is one of the best practice standard exit offers that we want to show every visitor as a sense of urgency. It has a discount offer. It has the code readily available. And then Alan, who's inspired me from day one, trust building. Why are people leaving your site? They don't trust you yet. You haven't built up that trust. So let's speak to them with your key trust badges and educate them at this point. Now, the second step, anonymous visitor identification, that is a technology. You turn it on and it automatically will be sending captured emails based off the level of intent that you want to your ESP. Newish technology, which it complements your on-site lead capture strategies. If we jump to the next slide, I'm going to show you a couple more examples.
Yeah.
Of the middle one. Hey, we don't discount. We're hearing this more and more and more and more. If you want to experiment with non-discounting, this is where if someone's leaving, they're leaving for certain reasons. Our goal here is to keep them on site. So we're going to reduce bounce rate, increase time on site, and drive them deeper into the funnel to close the sale. So right here, before you go, we're directing the visitor to categories that they may have missed or to where you want them to go. We find that this will increase time on site and reduce abandonment by 10, 15, 20%. That simple one. The last one here, Eric, this speaks to your 70% stat of return visitors. What was that stat again? Um,
We had a few clients this holiday season who drove upward of 70% of their revenue from returning users.
okay. So we talk about, and Alan, again, we've talked about time to purchase, how many visits to purchase. People don't necessarily buy on their first time to a website. Um, if it's a big purchase, it's going to be, 8, 10 visits to the website. Have here as a returning cart abandoner. If someone returns to your website that has abandoned an item, we're going to put that item in a pop-up in front of them saying, "Welcome back. We saved your cart. Continue to check out." This is making it easy, helping the consumer, making their life easier. This is one that absolutely love. And then the first one is just more specific to speaking to an exit offer of the holidays. This is just throwing the kitchen sink at it, right? This is everything that you see that is being used to close deals, from discount to free gift, which we love, to free shipping, with a sense of urgency. That's going to be like your home run, knock it out of the park. Go for a 30, between a 30 and a 40% sales conversion with that visitor segment that has items in the cart and is exiting. So there's obviously nuances within all of these. And if we look at Exo, Colati, I have a couple examples where I can kind of give some real life feedback on best practices for the actual pop-up themselves.
Yeah, I think let's do that. Let's jump into live teardowns. I think right before we do that, though, I want to double click on something with regard to this because I think there's a lot of mixed conversation when it comes to pop-ups and putting pop-ups on the site. There's a lot of strong opinions on, for or against it. And the reality is that I get the argument against it, right? Because it gets in the way of the user experience, but it's so hard to argue with the data, right? Around from a retailer perspective, it absolutely drives more revenue when they're done correctly. And at the end of the day, it's like the way I always think about this and the way that we talk about to our clients is that it is the very first step in the funnel for email automation, right? You if you can increase the amount of people that you're putting into your email system, right? That you're running through your Klaviyo automated flows, right? That you're running through your Klaviyo campaigns, assuming you know what you're doing on the email side, right? Assuming email is a driver of revenue for you, you will drive more revenue if you increase the amount of people you put into that email system by 10, 15, 20, 50, 100%, right? If you can double your opt-in rate of people who are on site through pop-ups, you are going to substantially increase revenue from email activities. It is the tip of the spear to drive more email revenue. And so like there's a lot of strong opinions about it, I think it's if you take a look at your numbers and you run a test to understand, like from a cohort basis, if you improve that pop-ups and where you're positioning them and the offers and how they're designed, and you can increase that, if you can hit that 20% number that Eric is talking about, you will drive more revenue, right? It just flows down funnel.
So sorry, Alan, I thought you were
Go
done.
ahead. Yeah, no, jump in.
You know, I've been slinging pop-ups for 15 years, and there's always, the skeptics have always been there. There's less of them today. This is my response. When it comes to your current pop-ups, and ExoCollide is a perfect example, my response is great. Let's run your current pop-up against a full screen and do an A/B test. We're going to run that for 2 weeks. This right here, I'd run a 50-50 A/B test, this versus a full screen. The second thing I would do is there's no cart abandonment pop-up on ExoCollide from what I can tell. I would say we'll do a control group of none and 50% of your traffic with an exit offer, a cart abandonment offer. And in our dashboard, I will show you the data. And when we do that, 100% of the time, the client is like, oh my God. Um, we'll see 115% increase in opt-ins with the full screen. And then with the cart abandonment, generally that data, people aren't tracking that data of what their sales conversion rate is of cart abandoners. We present that data, and then we also show them, you're going to be at a 18 to a 25% sales conversion rate with items in cart. And we take that to a 25 all the way up to 40. We've seen 42%. So that's how you test.
Yep. And absolutely test, run the test, see the data and see whether or not it works for your brand or not. But at the end of the day, the more people you can get into that email sequence, the more revenue you're going to drive from it. And that's a foundational element. So these are like foundational components that need to be optimized on site. I think we talk a lot about site optimization, obviously here at Blue Stout. And we do focus a lot on the actual templates themselves, right, and what you're offering on page, because that's obviously a massive part of this. But pop-up optimization, you probably have been running a similar pop-up or the same pop-up for a very long time, and you probably aren't testing it. You probably aren't changing it for seasons. You probably aren't changing it for, fall, spring, summer. You're not changing it as you re-merchandise. There's lots of opportunities here to change what you are presenting in these pop-ups too, to get them to perform better. We just
So
find that's an area that people don't focus on.
I have comments if Elaine would like to hear them on this. And
Yep.
speaking of
Let's go.
which,
I think let's all jump in here. I
I
think
got
let's
some
start doing a
I
trailer.
got a quick comments right here in my notes, which, and mind you, what the Justuno promotion is, we will, during our activation period with trials, we set this all up for free. So what I would do here is, one, there's a no thank you under get 15% off. I would remove that no thank you because you already have the close button. On the SMS screen, we do this on the SMS collection screen, which they don't have here. And that takes the submission from a 50% to 80% if you remove the no thank you. Um, that's when you have two-step promotions. But I would first do that. Next is if you do submit your email, it does not present the coupon code. It requires you to go to your email to get it. ESPs will delay those emails and people want it in real time. So you need on this, we call it the success screen, present the coupon code. Next is, I think you two will appreciate this one. If you do add an item to the cart, well, if you close at the
You
pop-up,
want to close this out?
yeah,
Cool.
you can close it out. Love the free shipping banner up top. One of our top advanced, once we do the 3 basic workflows, we then have 5 follow-up ones, and a dynamic free shipping banner is in our top 5. Right now, if you add an item to the cart, if you go to chocolate bars, like add a $15 cart item, it does not change that $75. It should change that 75 down to 60. Like your 60.
Oh, making this a dynamic up here in
Yeah.
the gotcha.
Yeah, that should be and it's out of the box, very easy thing to add. Um, then next item would be I added an item to the cart and went to exit and there was no exit offer. At the very least, tell me that I'm $60 away from free shipping or, educate me on
It didn't
why I should buy from you.
add to cart. There we go. Now it's been added. It says it's been added, but I'm not seeing an update in the cart either. So interesting. I wonder if that needs to be if it has to be refreshed. Oh, there we go. Now it's showing
Not
up.
are you on a product page?
No, I'm on the homepage right now.
Well, you hit an add to cart button. So I'd definitely fix that first. And then
Yeah.
I would add on to that too for the free shipping thresholds. So when you think about that threshold, I always also like to think about your threshold should not be viewed as a ceiling, right? So once someone has achieved it, I almost think of it as a detriment to then continue to communicate like, oh, free shipping on orders, $75 or more, whatever it is, for a $100 cart, right? Instead, just let that person know, confirm for them, like this cart ships free. Or better yet, if you have higher tiers, like get a gift with purchase for 200, just set higher and higher thresholds as opposed to having a single one for free shipping threshold. That'll continue to draw carts higher and higher.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see they have the free shipping threshold here. That needs to be dynamic in the banner. The last item is you'll notice the get 15% off tab in the lower left. Those are great, but ensure that when you're on mobile, you don't use that tab. The mobile experience is you can't have that there because it ends up blocking a lot of key important things.
Cool. Yeah. I think if we're looking at cart just because we got it pulled up. So we've added a low price product, $16 product. I do like how, well, actually, none of these get me to free shipping, do they? So I don't love that. I'd love to see some sort of an offer that gets me there. Although for low price point, offer, it's always gonna be a challenge to sort of upsell into a much larger AOV purchase with something like 55. Typically, the ideal setup is you're going to be providing something that's a lower price than what you've added, or an incentive that's going to make this more valuable. But if I am going to add a 55, I would love to be able to see kind of a free shipping with it. Um, so I think that's an interesting point too, sort of testing into for lower price point products, showing at least products with a price point that would get you over that free shipping threshold. I'm not sure if these have been tested into or not here, Elaine, but always recommend sort of testing what the offers are that are being presented here on the cart as well.
I think as I mentioned, I love chocolate, and I've bought chocolate online actually before, um, because I knew it was so good. I Chocolate's a unique one, right? Because bars, I don't generally want to spend $75 on chocolate bars if I've never had them or something, or if it's
Yeah.
great and you know the brand. But if I'm a first time shopper, um, that's a lot of money to spend on chocolate bars for me. Um, how do you work through that with consumers? Maybe I'm not the consumer. Maybe it is gifting is the main um, ICP here, or Lane, maybe if you can comment, or um, is there a way? Do you do samples? Like,
Yeah.
will you send
Gifting
me
is the
samples?
primary intent is gifting.
Yeah,
Also,
yeah.
Lane, for some reason, I'm seeing too in this banner right here, none of these are clickable. So I can add to cart, but I can't actually go to the product page for any of these. So I would double check that as well, just from like a bug standpoint. If I go in here and I look at like chocolate subscriptions, that gets me there. Let's go to shop. Um, Holiday gifts. I just want to get to a product page is what I'm trying to get to. Okay, here we go. Here's a product page. Okay.
Sample pack giveaway. That would be my promotion to capture email addresses.
That would be the promo to say as opposed to a discount.
Yeah, that'd be a
Yeah,
great way to capture email addresses.
cool.
I would sign up for that.
Eric Myers, any feedback on the site just as we're clicking through that you'd give to Elaine before we move on?
I have two things. I actually really liked the order of hierarchy that in the cart, the add to cart buttons have. So rather than using a bunch of primary CTAs to those add to carts, I really appreciate the way that those are. It's actually like I would call that a tertiary CTA to make sure that
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't distract from a user moving into checkout. Whenever we A/B test having product recommendations in the cart, we're always looking to make sure that they are not serving as a distraction, that they are only adding to cart values without minimizing conversion rates. The other point I was going to make was so the homepage is kind of framed. There's this section for a gift guide. Gift guides are the number one use case for a custom landing page because then you can really specifically curate that towards gifting, right? The gift guide can be set up for, shopping for this segment of your audience or this type of persona, right? Like shopping for friends, shopping for family, shopping for stocking stuffers, right? Like, here's all of our things under 50. Those types of organizations are a great way to communicate, to make it really easy to use the catalog, right? Like, you have this collection page. Then that gift guide could include entry points to each of those different collections, but it could also include some things about the brand and the product so that we can do a little bit of storytelling. Because if I'm coming here looking for a nice gift for someone, I also want to know that the person who's being gifted is really going to appreciate that and that I can tell them a little bit about like, okay, why did I select this? The brand story is a great reason for users to tell someone why they chose it for them, right? So including things like maybe like the provenance of the cacao be a really interesting story to
Mm-hmm.
include. Maybe what's in the chocolate, what makes it special or different, or what's not in it is oftentimes equally as important when it comes to consumables.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's great feedback. All right, I think let's go ahead and jump. Let's go here to Evan Brothers Coffee, the next on the list, and then we'll do Nation, and we'll see if we've got time to jump to these other ones here as well. So let's jump in here. Evan Brothers Coffee. All right, homepage. I shouldn't have clicked out of that pop-up too quickly there, but here you go. 15 off your first order. So again, just a very standard discount offer. I think a lot more that can be done here to make this more compelling, right, Eric?
There's so much personality right off the bat with this image. Like, looks like a fun brand as
Yep.
like vanilla.
Yep. 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 I immediately click out of this, right? It's almost annoying to me. So it's definitely could be a much more compelling offer that's maybe more seasonal specific, something that's, like I'm here because there's a job that I'm trying to do, right? I mean, they're buying coffee for myself or I'm buying for a gift, right? So how can we tie up that first interaction to something that's based around why that user is there initially? And this is something we talk about a lot is that end of the day, your job as a merchant is to sell, but everybody who's come to the site, they've got a very specific use case, right? They're unlikely that they're here just to poke around and look, right? They're here because they're looking for coffee, they're looking for a gift, they saw an ad, something that compelled them to come here and check you out because they needed to satisfy a need, a want, desire, or a job to be done. And so the better you can identify what that job to be done is for your user, you can make sure that the first interaction they have is going to lead them down the path to solve that problem that they have or complete that job they have to be done. Um, so I think, go ahead.
Further real quick is your product is your ultimate marketing tool. And that is why people are here. So the first promotion at the top of the funnel should be getting your product in their hands, and you do that through a giveaway. When someone walks in, you haven't earned their trust to buy from them, so they don't need a coupon. What they need is to understand your product. And so by getting that product in their hands, you're also getting it out into the marketplace and people enjoying it. And it's the best use of marketing dollars is your own product.
I can
Yep.
also
I
see
love
here, speaking of that product, so I think part of the product for this brand is probably the locations, right? I can see there's two
hmm
locations, one in Sandpoint. Hopefully you guys are getting better snowfall this year. We were actually open to this call before we jumped on talking about how low the snowfall has been this winter on the West Coast. But um, I think those locations are probably a big part of the product, right? Letting users know that there are local locations is probably a great way to increase trust. But I would imagine that most of your users have already been to either the cafe or the roastery, right? So they visited, they know the brand from that, and now they're coming to learn more about maybe getting those products without having to leave the house. I think that's like the main reason that someone would be visiting this site, right? Is okay, how can I bring Evans Brothers coffees home without having to leave the house? Maybe I could set this up on a subscription so that I don't have to leave the house. Can I get it delivered regularly? Um, I also see that you have tea in the navigation, but that's not featured on the homepage. Another great way to
hmm
just communicate like the breadth of the catalog so that regardless of the product, whether someone is a tea drinker or a coffee drinker, they know that they can find any of those items on the site.
Yeah, and I think to that point too, to sort of double click on this idea that like navigation, yes, people use navigation to get to the right sort of category products, but they're going to scroll through the homepage, right? That's going to be the natural process. They're going to scroll through, they see what you got here, and so it's an opportunity to showcase the breadth of the catalog, so they actually understand what you have by giving access into each of those collections directly from the homepage. So one, it's an access point. Two, it actually shows the breadth of the catalog. I think also something here that I'm seeing too, featured coffees like. I mean, I understand it's your coffee bag, right? So all the coffee bags look the same, but it does all just look the same, right? And so if I'm sitting here going, okay, well, featured coffees, which one should I click on? I have no idea, right? So there is sort of light roast washed, light roast natural organic, medium roast, light roast. So like I can sort of make a decision based upon light roast, medium roast, light roast, but there's three light roasts here. What's the difference between them? I guess yellow honey. So there's not a lot here that's really helping me as a buyer unless I already know very specifically which one of these I want, where to go from here. So would highly recommend providing the user with some more visual, whether it's iconography, whether it's tasting notes, whatever it may be, that's going to help them get into the actual product that is right for them versus them sort of just staring here blankly and trying to figure out maybe what's right for them and having to go to the product page and look at each one of these individually and then going back to the next product and looking at each one individually again. So anything you can do to help guide that user from the very onset is going to help keep them on site and help keep them down to a flow that's going to get them to the right product, which can get them to purchase faster.
And to help guide those users who have visited the cafe or the roastery, I would also really clearly denote which one of those is most often served. So, like if you have a
Yeah.
standard roast that you use for like your drip coffee when you show up, right? Like letting people know like which of these options is most likely to be the one that you had when you visited is a great way to help them follow up on a prior brick and mortar purchase.
Yeah. Or like how you make it like this is best for espresso, this is best for drip, this is best for pour over, right? Those types of notes to the average consumer would also be helpful. Again, like you're there for a job to do. I drink pour over, my wife drinks, out of an espresso machine. Like we're buying different types of coffee based upon our use case.
Alan,
All
we
right.
have 3 minutes. I went to eat. Yeah, I went here.
Yep.
I have
Eagles
a
Nest Outfitters.
yeah, I have an immediate example. If you trigger their hit accept, then yeah, their pop up.
Yep.
This is a perfect example of the SMS, how to increase from uh,
Oh, sorry.
uh,
Hold on. There you go.
naturally when someone gives their email and goes to the SMS screen, it's a whole experience that is debatable across the whole industry. But you do have a drop off in submission on the SMS screen. So if you add your email, and this is my example of how now it takes you to an SMS
Mm-hmm.
in which, mind you, wasn't communicated. At this point, I'm like, I'm not giving you my phone number, but I just gave you my email. What's happening right now? Right? So if you say no thanks, what's going to happen is it's going to close it.
Okay.
So if you click, is okay, great. What I just gave you my email. Do I get a discount or not?
Right.
You're like, all of a sudden,
Yeah.
your
It's
first
not clear.
reaction is like,
Yeah.
F you.
Yeah.
So if you reopen that, click that. Um, what we recommend is remove that no thanks. And in the upper right hand corner, you barely can see that close the X. When you click that close, you should be taken to the success screen to show the coupon that they submitted their email address for. Uh, our tests have proven that will it does two things. One, by not offering the out with the no thanks, it increases the phone number submission rate by 30%. And then second, by having the changing the close symbol to go to the success screen, you're not pissing off your customers, and you're
Yep.
getting that coupon in the hands to increase conversion rate.
Yep. Immediate. I love it. I agree. All right. Let's see here. So we got homepage. We got about 1 minute left here to do some teardowns for here. Eric, anything on the homepage we should be looking at? You want to look at a product page?
The imagery really struck me. I'll start with first, like something that I really like. I think the imagery does a really great job of communicating the product, right? You can see
Yeah.
someone using it right out of the gates. You understand that it's indoor, outdoor. I actually think the homepage is really well set up at first blush here.
Yeah, I do too. I like these call outs within the imagery too. The lifestyle shot showcasing the product, given how it's all active outdoor. I think that's really good and strong. All right, let's take a look at a product page here real quick. Let's take a look
That's strong
at,
brand.
yeah, I think it does a good job.
My initial just feedback, and it might be in here, is whoever posted this, Evan, check out the trampoline brand. Oh my God, why am I blanking? I'll find. I'll post it. They do a phenomenal job with video explaining their product and by the founder, really going into depth, geeking out on how they designed this, why they designed it, and the whole story behind it. I'd love to see a video similar to that. Spring free trampoline. That's it. And there might be a video here, but I don't see one.
Yeah, I think the only feedback I'd have immediately would be above the page fold. As we start to sort of shrink this down a bit. Well, I guess we do have some sales content here on mobile, But I think that's probably my biggest call out would be on desktop is that there's not much here that's giving me the value, the high value propositions for the product higher up on the page at a quick glance. It is requiring me to go pretty in depth. And I think the content below the fold is really strong, but I'd like to at least see some high level bullet points that are going to, if nothing else, just help reassure me that this is the product I want for the needs I want.
It almost feels like two different product detail pages where above the fold is very streamlined and focused on just like the transaction. And then there's a bunch of great storytelling down below. I would bet that the above the fold section will really benefit from some of those elements, like letting users know like what is a bestseller, what do people think about this, maybe a short product description and a few icons about some of the benefits and like product attributes be a great way to get that information in front of more people. Above the fold is super streamlined and straightforward, which is great if you have a lot of high intent traffic coming to the site who's just like ready to purchase, like get everything else out of my way, let me make a purchase. That's usually something that works more towards like low price like utility purchases, like yeah, I don't know, like socks or something, right? Like probably don't need a bunch of information about this. The hammock, there's a bunch of really cool story and a lot of cool features I can see right now, just looking at it really quickly. Bring that storytelling up into the fold so that we can seek to not just capture existing demand, but to create some too.
Yeah, totally agree. I think that's probably the lowest hanging fruit opportunity we're seeing in here. Free shipping products over $50 or $49, like it means this product gets me free shipping. I'd love to see something down here that says this product earns free shipping or you get free shipping with this product. Like make it absolutely, a slam dunk that I'm going to get free shipping with this without having to search around to find it and read it in the small text up above. 30-day returns. These are things we call risk reduction assets. How big is this? It gets to my house. Am I going to like it? Am I not going to like it? Maybe I'm buying it for a gift. Can I return it? Right? Especially in the holiday season. All those things would be elements here that are risk reduction elements. I'd want to be reminding the customer of both here as well as ideally in that initial cart experience. Like right here, taxes and shipping calculated checkout. This gets free shipping. Why do I need to have shipping calculated checkout? So we kind of have this now disjointed experience that's going to have people stop and pause before moving forward. So those would be the biggest piece of feedback I have too.
Hey, Alan, what's the number one cart abandonment reason?
Questions about shipping and shipping costs. Lack of trust.
Shipping.
Those would be the biggest ones that I know of. What? Free shipping, right?
Yeah, shipping.
Yeah.
Shipping's still the number one reason people abandon carts.
Yeah, that's right. It's ultimately comes down to like, unanswered questions. It's like people if they don't know and it's not clear and they don't know they don't know what the answer is moving forward, they're going to stop and pause and they're going to go search for the answer.
Yeah.
And these are great examples of questions about shipping that are going to cause them to stop and pause, right? So, all right, guys, I know we are at time. We're a little over time. Eric, I think you guys both have to jump. So I think let's let you guys go. Thanks, everybody, for showing up. We will send out the recording of this also for everybody who is not able to attend. So feel free to share it with your team. And we'll see you on the next one.